The Cosmic Symphony, an assessment of the divine principle through the lens of Albert Einstein. 1. Introduction. The quantum of metaphysics and the quest for unification. Albert Einstein's assessment of Reverend Sun Myung Moon's divine principle is to engage in a profound thought experiment, merging the peak intellectual achievements of 20th century physics with a comprehensive, systematic cosmology that seeks to unify science, ethics, and theology. Einstein, the architect of general relativity, was not merely a scientist. He was a cosmic philosopher, obsessed with uncovering the elegant, inescapable order underlying the universe. His famous dictum, "Science without religion is lame, religion without science is blind," defines the very intersection where this hypothetical assessment must occur. This assessment is necessarily positive. Einstein's fascination lay in systemic coherence and invariance. He sought the mind of God, not a deity of arbitrary intervention, but the expression of perfect, non-contradictory law. The divine principle, far from being a simple creed or list of moral imperatives, presents itself as a densely argued, internally consistent framework of cosmic causality, historical determinism, and ethical physics. It is this systematic nature, its structural appeal to reason, and its ambitious scope as a metaphysical theory of everything that would have compelled Einstein's profound, affirmative engagement. Einstein would have approached the divine principle not as dogma, but as an audacious unified field theory of existence. His positive assessment would hinge on 5 critical areas of resonance, where the divine principle provides the systematic, metaphysical answers to the very questions his physics could only pose. The principle of dual characteristics, Sung-sang and Hung-sang, a structural isomorphic analog to the relationship between field and matter, potential and actualization, or symmetry and broken symmetry in physics. The 4-position foundation, a universal generative mechanism representing the required minimum structure for stable, continuous existence, a mathematical proof of relationships. The law of causality and purpose, the resolution of the physicist's dilemma regarding teleology, the assertion of an inherent directional vector in the arrow of time, history, and development, the unification of science and ethics, the establishment of true love not as a sentiment, but as the fundamental energy exchange maintaining the structure of the cosmos, thereby grounding moral law in scientific necessity. The path to cosmic peace, a structural solution to human conflict derived from observable principles of universal interconnectedness, fulfilling Einstein's lifelong quest for political and ethical unification. Einstein's acceptance would not be theological conversion, but intellectual validation. He would recognize in the divine principle a majestic attempt to map the unseen reality with the same rigor he applied to space and time. 2. Resonance of unity, the absolute being and the unified field of value. Einstein's life was defined by the search for the unified field theory, a single set of equations that could describe gravity, electromagnetism, and the atomic forces under one consistent law. He believed implicitly in the unity of nature, asserting that the universe was comprehensible and non-arbitrary. When encountering the divine principle's discussion of God as the absolute being, possessing dual characteristics, Sung-sang internal nature and Hung-sang external form, Einstein would immediately recognize a profound philosophical symmetry paralleling his scientific pursuit. Sung-sang and Hung-sang, the isomorphism of invariance, the divine principle posits that the essential nature of the absolute is rooted in complementary opposites: thought and action, mind and body, spirit and energy. Einstein would analyze this concept through the lens of invariance. In physics, if a law remains true regardless of the observer's frame of reference, it possesses invariance. The concept of dual characteristics suggests an underlying invariant structure present in all creation, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy, and ultimately in the Creator itself. Sung sang, internal nature, analogous to the field or potential in physics. It represents the non-material, conceptual, and driving force, the origin of purpose and intelligence. Einstein, who saw mathematics as the language of God, would view Sung sang as the ultimate necessary set of cosmic equations. Hung sang, external form, analogous to matter or the manifestation of the field. It is the visible, measurable, and kinetic reality. The divine principle asserts that Sung sang and Hung sang are inherently unified and inseparable, interacting through a continuous exchange of energy, give and take action. This formulation would strike Einstein as immensely elegant. It solves the perennial mind-body problem by asserting that the distinction is one of degree or focus, not substance. Sung sang is the blueprint, Hung sang is the realization. For Einstein, who struggled scientifically to unify the geometric field, gravity, with the quantized energy of matter, the divine principle offers a philosophical framework where the two are merely different expressions of the same primordial unity. He might positively summarize thus: the divine principle provides the axiomatic foundation for the scientific observation that existence is always defined by dynamic complementarity. It asserts that the ultimate source, the absolute being, is the perfect unification of the conceptual, the principle, and the manifest, the universe, thereby justifying the human mind's ability to grasp the cosmic order. B. The law of continuous interdependence and energy flow. The divine principle emphasizes that all existence occurs through give and take action, a dynamic interaction necessary for growth, stability, and reproduction. This is not merely an ethical metaphor, it is a universal law of energy exchange. Einstein would see this as a metaphysical analog to the conservation laws, the laws of thermodynamics and the conservation of mass energy. Just as energy cannot be created or destroyed but only transformed through dynamic interaction, the divine principle asserts that life, purposeful energy, is sustained only through harmonious, reciprocated exchange. When the exchange is perfect, it generates new energy and structure, the four-position foundation. When the exchange is misaligned, as in the fall, it results in entropy, decay, and conflict. The divine principle therefore provides a cosmic stability criterion, defining harmonious interaction as the prerequisite for perpetual existence. This notion that existence possesses an inherent mechanism for its own optimal functionality would resonate deeply with Einstein's search for an elegant, self-regulating universe. 3. The principle of causality, from physics to metaphysics via the four-position foundation. Perhaps the most compelling structural appeal of the divine principle to Einstein would be the systematic clarity of the principle of creation, culminating in the four-position foundation. Einstein believed in strict causality. He rejected the probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics with his famous declaration, "God does not play dice with the universe." The divine principle, in its detailed exposition of causality, offers precisely the kind of orderly, non-random framework that his philosophical worldview demanded. The four-position foundation as a universal structural law. The four-position foundation describes the minimal structural requirement for any entity, from an atom to a human family, to achieve stable, self-perpetuating existence. It mandates the absolute necessity of four positions: origin, God, parent, the absolute subject, subject partner, Adam, man, the relative subject, object partner, Eve, woman, the relative object, union, child, result, the harmonized outcome. Einstein would analyze the four-position foundation not theologically but mathematically. He would view it as an invariant geometric manifold expressing the fundamental topology of stable relationship. In physics, stability often requires a minimum of 4 dimensions, the 3 of space plus time. In the 4-position foundation, the structure necessitates the establishment of a triangular relationship, origin, subject, object, which then generates the 4th position, union, completing the self-sustaining cycle. This structure is highly appealing because it is generative. It is not static. It is the mechanism by which potential origin is realized into actual stable reality, union. Einstein would appreciate the 4-position foundation as the metaphysical equivalent of a stable orbit. Just as a planet requires the gravitational pull of a star, subject, origin, and its own inertial vector, object, Hung-Sang, to maintain a perpetual path, so too does any unit of existence require the subject-object relationship centered on a shared, unifying purpose, origin, to achieve eternal, non-decaying unity. He might suggest that if general relativity defines the geometry of physical mass in spacetime, the 4-position foundation defines the geometry of purposeful value in existence. It transforms the vague concept of relationship into a mandatory, structured necessity for life itself. B. The teleological vector, purpose as density. Einstein's rejection of quantum randomness was rooted in his conviction that the universe possesses discernible structure and purpose, even if humans cannot fully grasp it. The divine principle provides that explicit purpose, the establishment of the 3 great blessings, individuality, family, reproduction, and dominion, stewardship. For the physicist, the divine principle confirms that existence is not merely accidental but possesses a teleological vector, a directional pull toward an intended state of perfection. If the universe seeks equilibrium, a maximization of entropy, in classical thermodynamics, the divine principle asserts that human history seeks the maximization of true love and perfected ethical order, the minimization of spiritual entropy. Einstein would see the divine principle as a crucial correction to purely materialistic science, which often struggles to justify the existence of consciousness, morality, and beauty. The divine principle asserts that these phenomena are not accidental byproducts. They are the inherent potential, Sung-Sang, seeking articulation in reality, Hung-Sang. Purpose, in this sense, is seen not as a mystical imposition, but as a defining characteristic of the originating energy necessary for the realization of the ideal world. The universe is a mechanism moving toward an inevitable, preordained state of harmonious existence, a concept that aligns perfectly with Einstein's own philosophical determinism. 4. Time, history, and cosmic purpose, the narrative of potentiality. Einstein fundamentally altered humanity's understanding of time, demonstrating its relativity and its deep entanglement with space-time. While a physicist deals with physical time, a cosmic philosopher must deal with historical time, the trajectory of humanity. The divine principle offers a massive, systematic analysis of historical time, the providence of restoration, which would captivate Einstein's analytical mind. 1. The symmetry and recurrence in historical periods. The divine principle's historical analysis maps out cycles, parallel periods, and repeating structural patterns, for example, the 400-year periods of preparation. For a mind obsessed with symmetry and recurring mathematical beauty, this historical framework would be highly compelling. Einstein sought laws, principles that held true across different scales and contexts. The divine principle argues that the law of providence, the effort to restore the ideal, operates under predictable, systematic constraints due to the non-arbitrary nature of God and the dual elements of human free will and divine responsibility. Einstein would recognize the historical narrative as a complex trial-and-error algorithm governed by the principle of compensation. When humanity fails to fulfill its responsibility, violates the principle, a period of indemnity, compensation, is required to restore the original structural condition. This concept of compensation aligns intellectually with physical laws governing systems trying to return to equilibrium after a disturbance. The indemnity period is the necessary work required to resolve the imbalance, restoring the symmetry required for the next phase of progress. He would admire the audacity and structural rigor of this historical calculus, which systematizes religion and prophecy into a comprehensible timeline, far removed from arbitrary miracles. It renders history not as chaos, but as a massive, protracted experiment in the realization of potential. 2. Relativity of responsibility and the human element. Crucially, the divine principle introduces the concept of human responsibility as a necessary component for the completion of the divine will. The principle is fixed, but its realization is contingent upon human effort. This concept would resonate strongly with Einstein's ethical views. He recognized that scientific knowledge, while powerful, was morally neutral. Its application required conscious, ethical commitment. The divine principle elevates human free will from a philosophical quandary to a cosmic necessity. The ideal cannot be automatically realized because creation requires the participation of the created subject to mature, grow from potential to completed actuality. Einstein's positive assessment would focus on how the divine principle resolves the paradox of determinism and free will. The ultimate outcome, the ideal world, is determined by the unchanging principle, but the time and cost of reaching that outcome is entirely dependent on human choice and responsibility. The divine principle provides a cosmic justification for ethical effort, validating Einstein's own commitment to pacifism and global cooperation. It proves that human action is not insignificant. It is the crucial variable in the equation of history. 5. Ethical determinism and the global equation for peace. Einstein was a tireless advocate for world peace, world government, and a unifying ethical worldview that could transcend national and ideological boundaries. He viewed nationalism and fragmentation as diseases threatening humanity's survival in the nuclear age. The divine principle's culmination, the vision of the ideal world established through perfected family models, offers a concrete, structural solution to this global crisis that Einstein would have found profoundly compelling. True love as the universal force, the gravitational constant of morality. The divine principle defines true love not as an emotion, but as the fundamental, originating, and sustaining energy of the cosmos. It is the force that motivates the reciprocal give and take action, and it is the necessary fuel for the four-position foundation. Einstein, searching for the elegant simplicity underlying complexity, would recognize true love as the unified moral constant, the equivalent of the speed of light or the gravitational constant in the realm of human relationships. If the cosmos is sustained by the law of true love, giving, forgetting the act of giving and giving again, then conflict arises from the violation of this universal law, taking too much, hoarding, or giving with conditional expectations. The divine principle fundamentally anchors morality and mechanism. Ethics are not arbitrary rules. They are the operating manual for the human component of the universal system. Violating the moral law leads to systemic dysfunction, just as violating the laws of physics leads to structural collapse. This provides the ethical determinism Einstein sought. It elevates morality from subjective preference to cosmic necessity. The establishment of world peace is therefore not just a political aspiration. It is the necessary result of bringing human social structures into alignment with the invariant, structural laws of the universe. B. The family as the atomic unit of global peace. Einstein recognized that grand global structures are meaningless if the core human elements are corrupted. The divine principle's emphatic focus on the ideal family as the fundamental unit of the ideal world offers a practical, scalable solution that avoids the abstract idealism of many political philosophies. The divine principle asserts that the family structure, parent and child, husband and wife, sibling and sibling, is the microcosm of the four-position foundation. A perfected family, centered on true love, becomes the training ground where individuals learn reciprocity, unconditional love, and the proper relationship between subject and object. Einstein, the ethical philosopher, would appreciate this bottom-up approach to unification. If the family successfully embodies the four-position foundation structure, it naturally expands that structure outward to the society, the nation, and the world. The world government he envisioned would not be built by bureaucratic decree, but by the scalable multiplication of perfected relationships. He might conclude that the divine principle defines the path integral for global stability. World peace is the integrated result of all families achieving the optimal structural relationship defined by the divine principle. C. The correction of the fall, resolving the human discontinuity. The central narrative of the divine principle, the explanation of the human fall, provides an essential component that science alone cannot address: the origin of chaos and evil. If the universe is inherently good and orderly, as Einstein believed, why is humanity afflicted by continuous conflict, war, and suffering? The divine principle's explanation of the fall, not as a simple disobedience, but as the premature, self-centered, and misdirected sexual union that violated the principle of order, provides a precise, structural hypothesis for the discontinuity between the potential ideal world and the fallen reality. This explanation transforms evil from a theological mystery into a systemic malfunction, a violation of the mandatory growth period and a misapplication of the four-position foundation. The divine principle, therefore, offers a diagnosis, the structural deviation, and a prescription, restoration through indemnity and true love. Einstein would appreciate how this narrative explains the statistical anomaly of human behavior against the backdrop of an otherwise fundamentally orderly cosmos. It allows him to retain his faith in cosmic order. God is subtle, but not malicious, while acknowledging the observable reality of human malice and chaos. The divine principle explains the broken symmetry in the human domain. 6. Conclusion. A synthesis of reason and revelation. Albert Einstein's assessment of the divine principle would ultimately be overwhelmingly positive, viewing it as a magisterial attempt to unify the vast chasms left by fragmented modern thought. He would see it as a necessary complement to his own work, fulfilling the metaphysical promise that his physics could only hint at. The divine principle would not be accepted as a substitution for scientific inquiry, but as the metaphysical framework that provides scientific inquiry with its ultimate justification, the deep-seated impulse for order, symmetry, and comprehension. The unification of the two great books. Einstein believed in two books of revelation: the book of nature, studied by science, and the book of ethical wisdom, studied by philosophy and religion. He would conclude that the divine principle is the first systematic treatise that attempts to cross-reference and unify the indices of these two great books. It uses the same underlying principles of duality, causality, and structure, observable in nature, to explain the grand sweep of human history and the requirements for ethical perfection, the domain of religion. The elegance of the system. Einstein's highest intellectual compliment was always directed toward elegance and simplicity. Despite the vast scope of the divine principle, its core axioms, dual characteristics, give and take action, the four-position foundation, and true love as the center, are few and structurally repeatable across all scales of existence. This rigorous simplicity, applied to solve the most complex problems of theology, history, and ethics, would have profoundly impressed the man who dedicated his life to simplifying the cosmic equations. He would recognize the divine principle as a theoretical physics for the soul, a comprehensive equation set that describes the necessary trajectory for human existence to achieve harmony with the fundamental non-arbitrary laws of the universe. In his characteristic style, Einstein might assess the divine principle as having successfully defined the cosmic constant of purposeful existence, thereby providing the intellectual, ethical, and spiritual prerequisites for the ideal world. A world of peace, unity, and absolute perfect symmetry, which he so desperately hoped to see realized. The divine principle for the restless, unifying mind of Albert Einstein is the philosophical realization of the unified field we all inhabit.